And welcome to another week of the Line Whisperer. The leaves are changing colors. Today is Halloween, which unfortunately means we're getting towards the end of college football season. We still have another solid 3 to 4 weeks. So this is the first weekend of November, and we're going to call this Saturday Small School Saturday. I like a couple small schools this weekend, so let's get right to it. First one I like is Louisiana Lafayette minus 22.5 against Texas State. Looking back, these two teams I think are in the same conference, a crappy one. And Texas State has been getting beat up by all the other teams when you look at common opponents and how the scores have come along. I just think Louisiana Lafayette is the best team in that conference. They've been whooping up with other teams. Texas State is one of the worst teams. Texas State is on the road. They're horrible. They got to go to Louisiana, and Louisiana Lafayette is going to lay the smackdown on them. So my big plays, big days bet of the week is Louisiana Lafayette minus 22.5 over the stinking Texas State, whatever they are. All right, next up on Small School Saturday are my Arkansas State minus 1.5 versus Louisiana Monroe, I think. Arkansas State, these are another teams that are part of that, whatever conference these teams are in. Arkansas State is always a pretty good team also. They got beat up by Louisiana Lafayette, but they're definitely the best of the next tier teams. So I think, especially with them getting 1.5, this is the line, or giving 1.5, this is the line that's talking to the line whisperer saying take Arkansas State minus 1.5 over Louisiana Monroe, who knows what the heck they are too. These are a bunch of teams I have no idea what their mascots are. So there's our second small school Saturday, and the third, the last one's going to be Rutgers. They got me last week. They got their one win. They got their cover. Well, guess what? It's time to go back to who you are because they're going into Champaign, Illinois, play Illinois, and Illinois is on fuego lately. They beat Wisconsin. They beat Purdue as big underdogs twice, and they're going to lay the smackdown on Rutgers. Rutgers has gone on the road last 2 times, still haven't scored a point. So I see this as an easy 42-3 at best game. They are going to wipe out Rutgers. So the 2 other small school Saturdays that I like, Arkansas State minus 1.5 against Louisiana Monroe, and Illinois minus 20.5 over that stinking Piscataway Rutgers team. All right, today is called Small School Saturday, but we still need to focus on the big boys. And we got 2 of the big boys I like today. One is Florida plus 6.5 at the world's largest outdoor cocktail party in Jacksonville over Georgia. Georgia, I thought they were good. They seem to be a fraud. They barely beat a Notre Dame team, which stinks. Florida is hanging in there. They beat Auburn. They gave LSU a run. They're hanging in there. So I really like Florida getting 6.5. To me, this is a 3-point game. I've been watching this Florida-Georgia game for over 20 years, and it always seems to be close. Florida's a good defense. They got a really good quarterback. They're going to hang in there. So that's the first one. Florida plus 6.5 to cover against the Georgia stinking Bulldogs. And the second big school game I like is a night game. My Oregon Ducks. They did good for me last week. They're playing USC. I don't think USC is that good, even with Oregon on the road. Oregon went to Washington. They beat them and covered. So they know what they're doing. They're a good team. They had their close non-cover last week against Washington State, who actually can be a decent team. But they're going to beat USC. I like Oregon. I think it's minus 4.5. So there you go. There's our 2 big school plays of the week. We got Oregon minus 4.5, and we got Florida plus 6.5. In the spirit of Halloween, here's Cookie in a lion outfit. You can hear her roar. She seems to really like it, I guess. So we'll keep her. There's a couple other fringe bets I like to make. My frisky lines. There we go. Get in there, Cook. Yeah, she's a little Simba. So the first one that I like is Air Force minus 14.5 against Army. Army, normally a decent team, hasn't been playing that well. Air Force has been killing it, so I like Air Force minus 14.5. Second one I like is, I was anti-Oregon State to begin the year, but they've been playing okay lately. They're coming off a bye. I like them plus 5.5 against Arizona. Arizona stinks. They can't win a game anywhere, yet alone win by more than a field goal. I think Oregon State keeps it close. Maybe they lose, but they're not going to lose by 5.5. So I like the Oregon State Beavers. And I'll throw in a quick one with UCF minus 22. Houston is the first college football team to be actively tanking, which is a weird scenario. I like UCF minus 22. And finally, the cookie bet, since she's here in the camera, is Washington +3 against Utah. Utah is an awesome team, and somehow they're only favored by 3 on the road at Washington. Something tells me Washington's going to win this game. They beat Utah last year. They beat Utah in I believe, the Pac-12 championship game. So they seem to have their number. I usually love Utah. Utah's blown out the last 4 opponents. If this line was 6 or 7, I would totally take Utah. But I'm the line whisperer, and you got to notice when the lines are talking to you. And this line is Washington +3. That's going to be a tough one to bet on, but I got to do it. This line's talking to me. It says bet the Washington Huskies, just like Cookie right here. Let's see if she can look more like a lion. Rawr, there she roars. So those are my 4 Friskies. So the big days, big plays bet. To recap, the Raging Cajuns found this great logo. Normally I overlap my other picks on this logo, but it's such a great logo I couldn't overlap it. So we'll move on to the next one. But Louisiana Lafayette -22. I ran out a little bit of room, so I could only pick who I wanted here. So Louisiana Lafayette, they're going to crush Texas State. Arkansas State's another one, -1.5. That line's talking to me to take Arkansas State. Illinois, Rutgers stinks. Illinois should wipe the floor with them, -20.5. So those 3 are some good-looking small school Saturdays. That's what we're going to call November, small school Saturdays. Let's take advantage of it. Season's almost over. So these are the games no one else is talking about except for me, the line whisperer. So pay attention. Now, let's go off to the big schools. I like the Gators +6.5 and Oregon -4.5 against USC. I like the Oregon USC. That's going to be the late 8 o'clock game. So that game could be close. I think Oregon wins at the end. They have a pretty good job of pulling that out usually towards the end. And then finally, a couple other frisky games as I mentioned earlier. I don't know why, but I like the Oregon State Beavers +5.5. I think they hang around. And they might even win outright, but as long as they don't lose by more than that, I think they might lose by a field goal. Arizona stinks. Air Force has been playing strong lately, so we're going to stick with them. And then finally, I'm just going with Washington because I'm the line whisperer, and that line's whispering to me. So here we go. Here's 8 games that are going to win us our first small school Saturday. Now let's go make some money.